Good evening and welcome to this next episode of the Gunner Site. We're going to talk of India, Afghanistan, the new diplomatic axis which is opening. Does it put Pakistan in a corner? Right? And to join me in this discussion today are Gen Raj Shukla and Gen Harimohan. Good evening, folks. Welcome to the show today. I
Good evening.
must tell you that I'm stepping in place of Sri Ayerji because Sri Ayerji is not too well. So I'll anchor it and I'll take your expert opinion and throw in my, a few bits here and there. But a lot of interesting things happening in this area uh, worldwide. Today has been historic because the Gaza war is officially, come to some closure, return of hostages taking place. The rare earth war is going on a tangent of its own. The Ukraine war is also simmering. So are the tensions in the South China Sea. But amidst all this, I think there are very important happenings in our region, in the subcontinent as a whole. We recently had the Taliban foreign minister coming to India. He spent 6 days here. He had a discussion with our entire foreign ministry apparatus. Uh, he even addressed the lady journalist, which is quite anathema in the Taliban lexicon. Though it was an afterthought, but he did address. He did have the courage to sit in front of them and talk. Then he went to the Devband, ulema, had a long sitting with them, well publicized, a lot of crowd, a lot of things happened. And soon you also found that Pakistan and Afghanistan had a spat, the bombing of Kabul and all that. So a lot of new things are on the horizon. Add to that, this is today. In fact, yesterday and today, Pakistan is on fire. Internally, Tehrik-e-Labbaik has gone berserk. Murid K, Lahore, Islamabad, everywhere in between. A lot of arson, looting, firing, varying reports of death, varying reports that policemen and security forces are being targeted, varying reports that the TLP leader has been shot dead, his brother has been shot dead, and all that. But a lot of rumors, but there is something serious happening. Go take our mind back to the first week of October, where a lot of issues were there in POK. In fact, 13 people died at that point of time. You go back a little more, another 15, 20 days back, Gilgit-Baltistan, the Kunzrep Pass was closed. There were a lot of problems between the locals there and the Chinese. In fact, it was closed for over 20 days. This is Pakistan for us. And, at this point of time, a lot of questions. Has Pakistan overstepped itself? Has Pakistan got cornered by this new India-Afghanistan bonhomie which is on the horizon? And there's no doubt in my mind that if the embassy in Kabul reopens the way it is said so, a lot of equations will change. Very significant, if I might say, part of the discussion is that Afghanistan has invited India for mineral exploitation in Afghanistan, which is unprecedented. China and USA have been sniffing around there, so has Pakistan, to get minerals from there. But it is India who's got the invite. It opens up a lot of things, and of course, for all this, we need Iran. So that's another complication. A lot of things happening in this neighborhood, and we have an opportunity in this case. Right? I've given a large background. I now request General Raj Shukla, and then, of course, we'll get General Harimohan to weigh in with their views, because I think we need to get the perspective of what's happening. At different perspectives, we'll see at this point of time, and then we'll see what our options are and where we have to go ahead. With this, General Raj Shukla, over to you.
So I'll pick on the point that you made about opportunities. what are the opportunities for India in this seeming chaos? And suddenly I see a lot of, what do they say, silver linings in an otherwise dark cloud. I don't know where to begin. I happened to be at that event when the Afghan foreign minister was at VIF, and at that time I had heard this bit about the, Indian women journalists not being called, and I was surprised. There were two to three ladies in VIF. At least over tea, he was interacting very freely with them, and he was a pretty colorful foreign minister. The way he answered questions and all, there was that English translation going on, and he suddenly said, "Isko छोड़ो आपको उर्दू समझ में आती है?" Everybody said yes, and in Urdu he answered a whole spate of questions. I mean, for not for a moment did I get the impression that he was from this very ideological, doctrinaire country. एकदम खुली बातें कर रहा था. And one thing that I remember, I mean, he was conciliatory. He was, he was trying to say that we have great opportunities with India. But one note of warning he sounded. And the the sum and substance of that warning was that anybody who meddles with us, USA, Russia, the British, he says we've taught them a lesson. Pakistan. So in that sense, the first thing I wish to say is that Trump doesn't know Taliban. Anybody else would have given Bagram, not Trump, not Taliban. So ये जो ट्रम्प की अगर ये बगराम के ख्याल है, I mean, see, the Taliban don't think in a very strategic manner, but when they decide to battle you, कि भाई नहीं दे रहा बगराम, you better not take Bagram. So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing, say this, this business of this hostilities along the Afghan-Pakistan border. I mean, I agree with you totally. Has Pakistan lost its head? It certainly seems to be losing strategic balance. You decided to carry out an airstrike on Kabul. I mean, look what they did to you. What have you got carried away that you will meddle in West Asia? I mean, Trump is taking you for one big ride. Please get some sense. तुम्हारी $1 trillion से कम इकोनॉमी है, $9 billion का बजट है, और ये ग्लोबल प्रोफाइल. I'm pretty happy Pakistan keeps doing all this, but it is losing strategic balance. The other thing, sir, we must realize that this Pathan ethos is very strong. The links between the TTP, TTA in the sense of gratitude. The TT, P and TTA have come to each other's help. This is the Taliban Pakistan, Taliban Afghanistan in periods of grave crisis. So the Pathan bond is far stronger than any of these nationalist impulses. So if the TTP has to choose between the Pathan bond and Islamabad, it will choose the Pathan bond. Please get that right. So in that sense, the Durand line is an artificial construct. So that's the first thing Pakistan must realize. I'm glad that they are not realizing this. And the third good news, at least for me from an Indian perspective, is that US-Pakistan relations have had a bad history, and both of them have had a, shall I say, shorter memory. If we just take us back, sir, whenever the Pakis have tried to get too close to the Americans, the backlash by Islamist forces have been strong. It was Labbaik before, it is Labbaik repeating itself. And the price of this Munir's excessive friendliness with Trump will be paid by Shehbaz Sharif. The politics will not, the local politics, because it just doesn't go along. If you remember, Imran Khan took advantage of the American drone strikes to gain political heft. He said, "ये अमरीकी drone हर जगह मार रहे हैं, ये वो." Now Pakistan has to choose. Will rare earths and crypto, will they trump, or will they trump the larger Islamist drivers? I don't think so. तो ये रेयर अर्थ और ये जो ख्वाब है इनके क्रिप्टो शिप्टो के, basically the point I'm making is that a very strong Pakistan American relationship doesn't quite reconcile itself with the realities in Pakistan domestic politics and in the larger South Asian region. So the closer that Pakistan gets to USA means domestic trouble for the powers that be. And the last point, I mean, if you are saying that now Afghan is offering us rare earths, will they also offer us crypto? Good news. Really good news for us. And I think after, that's why I'm saying after a period of some darkness, these strategic stars are now back in India's favor because Afghanistan is proving to be quite a pain in the neck of Pakistan. And one last point I'd like to make, I mean, Hari can comment on this, that suddenly we see security penetration of what were one time exclusive theaters. Indonesia is fielding a force, international uh, sustainment force in Gaza. Look at Turkey's penetration of Pakistan and Bangladesh. Pakistan venturing as far as West Asia. Now, is this good? Is it bad? This is suddenly a new geopolitical strains that we are seeing. I can't quite figure of whether it is good or bad, but suddenly everybody is becoming expeditionary. So is it time for India also to become expeditionary? I'm not quite sure. With that, I'll just turn it over to Hari.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, you laid out your ideas pretty well. Pakistan is in a tizzy, there's no doubt about it. So yeah, I'd like Hari, your views on what Pakistan is up to, considering the fact internally Pakistan is on a very shaky wicket. Today it's very clear. And you see the videos which are there on the social media today, the way people are getting shot, and the way people are hitting out at the security people is not funny. Okay, and of course, a point which probably the canvas in Pakistan is so many colors in that whole thing, funny colors coming out. Raj Shukla forgot that Pasni factor, and Chinese are unhappy
I
about
was,
it.
I was, I was planning to start
Yeah.
there.
I
So
really
why
forgot
do?
that.
Yeah. I mean, so many
Yeah.
things are coming out of Pakistan. Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to get hold of all the strains. So, Hari, your views on all this, which is going on there?
So I'll start with where General Raj Shukla left. One thing is very clear: the UN is losing its relevance, especially as far as a peacekeeping body. And if what is going to happen in Gaza finds the light of the day, in future, I don't see very many UN peacekeeping. As it is, by and large, UN peacekeeping has been, left towards African conflicts, which are actually mini conflicts. And it's a pity because it is an organization which was, meant to keep peace in the world. And today it has been marginalized over the years, and now it's becoming even more relevant. Like General Raj Shukla said today, whether it's Turkey or Indonesia or even for that matter, small nations are willing to put forces as part of an international force outside the ambit of the UN chapters. So, Chapter 6 and Chapter 7 totally lose relevance, and new dynamics will come as far as international peacekeeping is concerned. And that's somewhere where India has to really look itself because we believe in the UN Charter wherever we want to intervene as part of an international commitment. That having said, sir, I will start from where you said about Pasni. Today I was just looking at the map. So when you look at Chabahar in the west and Pasni in the east, with Gwadar in the center, the three ports are just about 200 miles apart. And today, the way they are, fanning out, you'll have Iran, India at Chabahar, you'll have Pakistan, China at Gwadar, and possibly Pakistan, US at Pasni. Add to it Karachi, which is further east, and this entire coastline is burning because Sindh is on a low simmer, Balochistan is about to blow up, and especially the eastern Iran. is still not very stable. And all these four ports actually dominate the complete Gulf, the oil route which comes in from the Gulf. So there are far many people, far many players whose games are at stake with this part of the coastline. Because if this coastline becomes unstable, flow of oil through the Gulf is going to become a very, very big problem. And there's going to be a huge amount of naval presence, and the sea lane is very, very narrow here. So you can't have too many players playing around this area, and it's going to be very interesting. And personally, this is again, it's a personal opinion. I think uh, Pasni is likely to be put on a slow burner for a while. I don't think the Americans are going to step in very fast over there, because they will get involved in a unwanted conflict with China in a land which they are not sure of themselves. And China is not going to let go of its investments in Balochistan so easily. So there are some huge amount of gray zone that is going to be seen over the next few months. And I don't see Americans stepping in very early into Pasni per se, but definitely they will like to enter some bit of Balochistan, because that's a cake they like to eat. As far as the Afghan crisis is concerned, I had been mentioning it, that is where the problems of Pakistan is going to start, and especially when they sent back a million plus refugees, forced them across the Durand line. This was bound to happen. And like General Raj Shukla said, whether you call it TTP or TTA, they are bye bye. And when the American drones used to hit the TTPs, it was the TTAs who used to react to. Good old days. So there is something which binds these two factions together, and they don't consider Khyber Pakhtunkhwa as part of Pakistan. Anyways, they call it Pashtun territory. Add to this whole domino, you add Imran Khan to it, the so-called Pashtun face of Pakistan. The way he's been marginalized is not something which KPK and people over there accept. Like Gen Raj Shukla mentioned, Imran Khan came into limelight through the Pashtun way, calling his Pashtun land. So there is going to be problems, and as I mentioned long time back, sir, I look at Pakistan actually in four quadrants, but I can look at it in two parts: east of Indus and west of Indus. I see west of Indus of Pakistan in a real bad shape. Over the next a few months, maybe a couple of years, this part of Pakistan is something which will possibly see fractions breaking away. It may be, when I say break away, they'll lose control. The Pakistan government will lose control over these areas over a period of time. And their army is going to get very badly stretched trying to maintain peace or law and order in these areas. So if I look at it, they will be pulled towards the east by the Indian army, towards the west by the Afghan and the Balochis, towards the south by China and America, who will want security of their ports, and of course, internally, what is there, these factions which are at Muridke and Bahawalpur will keep them amused. So for the people in khakis in Pakistan, there is some rosy time to come. Something like it's fun to watch the way the army is going to get pulled from four to five directions, and it's something which I feel they have overstretched themselves, and some major issues are going to come up in the next few months. It is interesting times. I'll leave it at that at the moment.
Right, right. Between the two of you, I think you painted the overall picture. Let me summarize it. From here, we'll see which way Pakistan is heading, and what do we do about it. That's the thing. Let's put it. We've come out with the fact that Pak sovereignty is at stake. For the simple reason, you're going to have China already operating in vast swathes of territory right from Gilgit-Baltistan down to Gwadar, and it's already invested quite a bit, over $20 billion. America is getting in. We don't know whether it'll get into Pasni or not, but definitely Trump has got his sights on the Barrick gold mine, right, which the Canadians have. Incidentally, the Canadians already have a contract with the thing, and that was signed in January. So it is a matter of getting it, and some iron ore, pilot iron ore has gone from Pakistan to USA already. So and all these deals entail loss of sovereignty. One. Number two, look at it today. The apart from the problems of the problems of the Pakhtun issue and or the TTP issue or the Taliban issue and the Afghanistan problem and TTP, YEVO, all that, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa CM has been changed. The previous guy, Amin Ali Gandapur, he gave a resignation with the government has not accepted. That governor has not accepted. In the meanwhile, today the parliament has elected another guy. There's chaos. There's a situation there where they have two chief ministers. We don't know who the chief minister is, who's to be recognized, not recognized. So that part, apart from the military problems, the terrorist problems, Hafiz Gul Bahadur group, all that, there's a new dimension of political instability, and this is serious. Look at Balochistan. We've all said it can blow up any day now, right? We know that. 95% of Balochistan is not under Pakistani control. The only 3 places or 4 places which are under Pakistani control are Quetta, Sendak mine, where the Chinese are doing mining, some part of this new Recodic mine, and Gwadar. Uske alawa though they are not investing. Okay, then you also look at this thing about TLP, what's happened in the past 2-3 days, and the way things have blown. Remember, this is heartland Punjab. Murid Ke, Lahore, Islamabad, in this belt, Faisalabad, this is where the TLP is strong, and TLP has got nearly 15% voting power. It's a radical political party at the heart of the story. That's I don't think that's going to come back in a hurry. And why, I'll tell you. Here, Pakistan faces a catch-22 situation. Part of the deal with Trump is to provide some force for the stabilization force along with Indonesia. If they give that, they have problem with TLP. If they don't give that force and they don't go there and do whatever they have to do, then Trump is going to twist their tail. So that is, that's a catch-22 situation, and it affects Punjab directly, right? So three major, Sindh is simmering, and there are also problems in POK and Gilgit-Baltistan. Where does it leave Pakistan? What is the future of Pakistan? I mean, we are talking of only east of Sindh. Why not west of Sindh? Something happening. Will Pakistan army able to control the situation? Because see, Pakistan army is very good at fighting terrorism and all that. Will it be able to handle this whole story politically? Because it's geopolitics and politics rolled into each other. And then what do we do? There are a lot of people in our country who want Op Sindoor too. अपने भी झंडे master है ना? If we want to go and conquer Pakistan and all that. So what do we do? How do we handle this? Now, any outreach into Afghanistan means that we have to go through Iran. Iran might welcome us. Will Americans help us? So how do we handle that? So I have a lot of questions. Actually the canvas is quite large. The colors are jarring, but there are too many. Getting hold of them is difficult. And that's why I'm getting back, Raj, your views on this thing and how do we handle this? And where do you think Pakistan itself is going?
Yes, so very interesting questions you've posed. Before that, may I offer one piece of
Please.
Unsolicited advice to President Trump? I think it was Chester Bowles many years back who said that it is bad mathematics, and now I'm contemporizing it, to alienate 143 crore Indians in favor of 25 crore Pakistanis. So, I mean, if you contemporize the figures he may have said then, it is simply bad mathematics. So, Mr. Trump must seriously see कि भाई किसको back कर रहे हैं. And as you rightly pointed out, he is backing a country which is essentially nothing but Punjab, Pakistan. बाकी तो सब खफा है. सिंधी खफा हैं, बलूची खफा हैं, पीओके हाथ से निकला जा रहा है. So what is this entity called Pakistan? I don't see. Extremely bad statecraft, and nobody is in their hands. And third, I was just thinking, if this is what has happened to Mr. Gandapur, I mean, at some point in the future, will Taliban march to Islamabad and restore Imran Khan to the throne? Greater Pashtun. I mean, I can't rule out that possibility. And it will take some genius. आई मीन आप स्ट्रेटेजिक डेप्थ की बात कर रहे थे अफगानिस्तान में और उसको दुश्मन बना लिया. कहाँ गया आपका स्ट्रेटेजिक डेप्थ? And yet, you know, there is this document, I wonder if you've seen it, sir, after Sindoor. किदवाई ने एक किताब सी लिखी है on strategic reckoning. बात ऐसे करते हैं as if they are a superpower. I mean, not even a strategic reckoning. And look at how they are, you know, in a complete mess. I don't see any sign of hope from a Pakistani point of view. I mean, and having now, you know, what shall I say, taken such relish at the bad position that Pakistan is, let me just throw up 2-3 ideas of what we should do, sir. I mean, one is to analyze geopolitics and look at what diplomacy should do and all that. But given the severe security challenges in our neighborhood, I would like to raise this issue. Is it time for us to step up our military diplomacy substantially by an order of magnitude? And I will just recall, sir, I was a colonel in IDSA when Mr. K. Subramaniam used to come. And I think if I recall rightly, he was in one of those sessions discussing or expressing his lament at the poor implementation of the Kargil Review Committee. And what really, I marvel at that it was a civilian who was trying to say why we need theatre commands and why we need a DIA. He said a defense into the 3-star DIA should have an external orientation. Look at Bangladesh, Myanmar, Pakistan, and even beyond. And the inputs that he gets must be given to the theatre commanders who must have a quasi-diplomatic visage. Look at how far-sighted, and from a civilian it is remarkable. And he said that the DIA and the theatre commands and the CDS must come together. And what did our bureaucracies do? We first created an IDS without CDS, which General Padmanabhan called a headless wonder. Now he gone and created a DIA, clipped his wings, and said कि आप JNK के आगे में नहीं देखोगे. Exactly in contravention of what Mr. Subramaniam's vision was. He said a DIA will help Indian military to lift its eyes beyond the LC and the LAC. दूर देखोगे. हमने कहा आप JNK के बाहर नहीं देखोगे. और theatre command we have reduced as if it is nothing but air power. It is much beyond that. It is this quasi-diplomatic visage. And just see, sir, if we can get the Eastern Army commander to look at Myanmar, Bangladesh in a proactive sense to deal with threats before they come to your borders. Western theatre commander looking at Afghanistan, Iran, or whatever, beyond. And the maritime theatre commander looking at projecting power across Malacca. Indian statecraft would be different. And I must repeat it for the third time. I haven't heard a military officer articulate this, but Mr. Subramaniam. The connect between CDS, DIA, theatre commands, it was one part of a visionary kind of concept. Usko humne bandar baat kar di and all that things that we are so I'm saying at least now, let's wake up. Look at the chaos in Myanmar, Bangladesh. I was that day in another kind of study, sir, with what's happening along the eastern horizons. I think it's a national security reality. We may have to not only seal the borders, but create some kind of RR force. Or the problems that we have there on the western horizons will get replicated here. There is a lady, sir, Rami Desai, who does a lot of good work. I suggest you call her on this. I've heard her sometimes on this Myanmar, Bangladesh. It is a grave national security reality. So the point that wish, sir, look at this. The guy who opened the streets of Washington and the doors of White House to Asim Munir was Kuruwala, CNC CENTCOM, and Shehbaz Sharif followed suit. Why should we not have a 3-star in CENTCOM and a 3-star in IPACOM? Mr. Raja Mohan keeps lamenting that in Brussels, where NATO is so active and the EU is so active, हमारा DA ही नहीं है. So this is a time, because of the instabilities in the neighborhood, to look at military diplomacy. Because when force is missing, diplomacy is hampered and our foreign policy punches below its strategic weight. तो एक तो पाकिस्तान है जिसका कोई वेट नहीं है, वो आसमान में उड़ा जा रहा है, और एक हम हैं who have the weight, who have the military, and we are reluctant to employ it in this very, shall I say, what will be a very utilitarian domain of military diplomacy, to take care of these instabilities before they come to your borders. I will not be surprised, sir, if 5, 6, 7 years from now, we are discussing the problems along our eastern horizons, Bangladesh, Myanmar, where there are new national security realities emerging. So I think it is time now to step up our military diplomacy to look at all the chaos that is around us. I wonder what Hari thinks, but this is something which has been bothering me over the last 2 to 3 days.
Yeah, I think you made a very important point. I mean, I am completely in agreement with you that where the theatre commands are beyond the Air Force, you have to have an outward orientation, and especially due to the fact that you want to be, you're going to be the third largest economy in a few years, and the third largest economy, and you're increasing your links with the West Asians. You got this IMEC going, your interests are going across. You want an international north-south transit corridor. If your economic interests are going that far, your military footprint also has to expand. If your military footprint has to expand, you need to have a theatre commander who has to look that far. Yeah, please come in.
I just, one thought struck me, sir. The only 2 times I visited Afghanistan was when the embassies were hit. Both times I happened to be in MO and I was sent. And when I went there, the first time I realized, I recount, the ambassador was sitting on the lawns with his hand on his heads. And I think General Meston was the DA there. And he said, यार मेरे पास कुछ force ही नहीं है. What can I do? Everybody is expecting us to do so much. And that image has struck in my mind that here was India who could have done so much. We had no resources. We had no resources because we had not militarily committed resources. And I don't recall whether it was the first visit or the second visit. General Bikram Singh had sent me, and there were some others also. And we were telling the Afghanistan, what do you want? And I recall the Afghan army chief, he was a Sanders returned guy. He said, यार तुम आए हो, you are the 10th man or so, तुम फिर वादा करोगे, कुछ नहीं दोगे. अगर कुछ दोगे तो बात करते, नहीं तो इसको छोड़ दो, इसकी पीते डिनर खाते. That is realistic. That reinforces the point of how we have not used the military to what shall I say, reinforce our profile in the neighborhood. And in the recent crisis around, sir, in Nepal and Bangladesh, when all else failed, it was the military element which helped. It is so important. अभी भी आप बांग्लादेश में देख लीजिए सर, वो जो आर्मी चीफ है जो थोड़ा सा सेन है, he needs military backing. QMG, the guy who is in opposition to him, has got full backing of the ISI and all that. And we are not backing this chap adequately in the military sense. So the Indian polity has to realize that military to military is a very different cup of tea. It does some very distinct signaling. उसका हम इस्तेमाल क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं? I am really astounded.
Yeah, I think you made 2 points, 2 very valid points. The first is, this is the time we need a very high degree of politico-military fusion. The civil-military fusion and the politico-military fusion has to be of a very high order, which I agree with you is lacking. Because when, the air chief, and I'm being very critical about ourselves. We've We must be, otherwise we will not be honest. When the air chief and the chief and our defense minister say, "Oh, we'll change the geography and of Pakistan and all that," I think we're being short-sighted. They might have said it with the particular intent, but overall, in the construct in which you are, where things are coming out, I think they're being short-sighted. You have to think beyond Pakistan now. If you don't think beyond Pakistan, we won't be ready for the day when Pakistan breaks up on its own. We don't know whether it break up or not. We don't know, but you need to be ready for it. That's the worst case option. How do you handle it, right? And I mean, you don't have to change Pakistan's geography. It's very well possible that Pakistan changes its own geography and political geography. So that is something which we have to really look at. And of course, the fact is that you need theater commands. Theater command, without a strategic vision which goes right up to the Mediterranean this side and beyond Malacca Straits onto the east, we have to rethink. I'll take both these points, and I'm only reinforcing what you said. And I hope people are there listening. Even within the army, you need a whole lot of rethinking. Gone are the days when you say, "यार मेरा armored corps और infantry general cadre में होंगे, यही होंगे chief of army staff, बाकी बंद." You know that thinking, right? You want to reach. I mean, a very funny thing. You want to reach out with extra range. You want rockets, missiles. Hey, whoa! You want to protect the skies. Sudarshan Chakra, which the prime minister announces, right? And the air defense and the artillery are not even combat arms. They're support. They're support cadre. It is as if grade 2 cadre of civil services में होता ना, that type. So I think a lot of change has to be done externally and internally. Yeah, please come in. You wanted
Let
to
Hari come in first. Then
yeah,
I will
Hari,
say
come.
Firstly, I am reminded of a discussion I had with General Raj 4-5 years ago when he was the army commander, and he asked me one day, "यार तुम लोग theater command का क्या कर रहे हो?" And I said, "Sir, this." At that time, the funny thing was they were talking about a logistic command and something of that nature to start.
PT
And I
schools,
said,
music schools, Hari, PT schools, music schools.
so I mentioned it to him that these are cosmetic changes which will create, which will have no effect anywhere. You will have maybe one new standard station commander in stations and nothing more than that. Unfortunately, our theatre command concept has also not been, put up correctly. Today we are looking at an adversary-based theatre command. It will never work. What General Raj Shukla says is, you have to have a world vision.
Capability based.
It has to be capability based. But the point is, we say we are an army which doesn't want, or we have an armed forces which have no international projection in our this thing. Can you be the third largest economy with that kind of a foresight? I don't think so. We are behaving like one of the India of the 70s in the 2020s as far as force projection is concerned. You don't have to be a person who goes and occupies land. It doesn't require to be, but your influence has to spread. And I read somewhere, today there was a social media post coming in about Mani Shankar Iyer, my namesake, mentioning something about Indian Army's professional outlook in Sri Lanka. And it actually hurt me because we were all part of Op Pavan in those days. And the way we were launched in that, and I was also about to be launched into Op Pavan, and I know what conditions we were being launched. But today we are way ahead. 50 years on, we are much more capable today. We should be involved in world order. You can't be making statements in the United Nations and not have anything to back it up with. Today, when this Gaza peace plan is going around, I don't want the Indian Army to be part of the Gaza peace plan. Definitely no. But I want us to be part of that whole episode. We should be controlling the narrative there. We should be having some say because we have a major stake with the Israelis there. And we should not be on the sidelines just because there are certain political issues which are pulling us down. So in the same way, when you look at Pakistan, today we don't have a defense attaché in Pakistan. We pulled them out. I don't know whether it was right or wrong or whatever, but it creates a vacuum in the system when at this moment when you should have your eyes and ears in Islamabad, you don't have it. Was it a right decision? I don't know. Was it possibly taken in haste? I don't know. Or have we enabled the whatever is left in Pakistan to be capable of filling those voids? Because until and unless you know what is happening on the ground, you can't take decisions. Today you are going to be shooting in the dark. Similar is the case with Afghanistan. We have been keeping our military wing very, very low. And like General Raj Shukla says, there were multiple opportunities where we could have influenced a large amount of defense diplomacy in Afghanistan. Same is the case with Bangladesh. When Bangladesh created the crisis happened, it was only the Indian defense attaché which was there, which was in sync in some manner with the Bangladesh army. And the fact that the Bangladesh army chief maintains continuous contact with us indicates that there is a need to have defense diplomacy. And I totally endorse General Raj Shukla's point of view that it is high time we start looking at it differently. It's high time, and the foreign service cadre needs to also understand that we are no longer the nation of the 70s. We are much, much different today. And until and unless you have defense power, force projection just because you are an economic power will not work. And we need to be ensuring ourselves that we are, heard out wherever we mean business with. And today, unfortunately, the large number of world issues, our armed forces are, kept out of it. That's the second issue which I'd like to flag. Thirdly, as far as Gandapur is concerned, sir, it was on the. I felt it was going to happen, and it is something which is going to create a lot of fissures in PTI. And what I hear, and I keep following a large number of PTI people, there is a resurgence of the Imran Khan faction once again because Gandapur was playing both sides, and he was trying to marginalize Imran Khan over the last 6 months. So him being taken out of the equation is only going to benefit Imran Khan and also his followers. So there's going to be, like General Shukla mentioned, and I also feel, the route to implosion from the KPK will come with the resurgence of the PTI. And I do visualize another uprising in the political faction because, frankly speaking, this government in Pakistan doesn't have the mandate. It is a mandate which has been stolen and it is known to everybody. The fact that they have proved this skirmish with India as a so-called victory and created a failed Marshall and glorified themselves. They have bought themselves some time, but this balloon is going to burst. At some stage, people are going to realize that they have been fooled. So the problem for Pakistan will come from Afghanistan through Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and I find that portion is what is going to pull Pakistan out. Balochistan, to some extent, because Americans have brought a large amount of interest, like General Shankar said, those two mines, there's a huge amount of investment which has gone in. The Chinese have invested huge amount of money in the CPEC. So they will possibly keep Balochistan at bay from splitting until and unless Iran comes into the game, and that's something which I feel is likely to happen. Iran is now a member of the BRICS. Iran is a member of this SCO. So I do not, and Iran is extremely cut up with the Americans. I don't think Iran is going to take the strikes on its soil very lightly. I don't give away a possibility that Iran sides with China, especially in Balochistan, in case the Americans step in. So they are real interesting times as far as Pakistan is concerned. Pakistan watchers, there's enough to read in and out of Pakistan. And I was wondering, in fact, an interesting episode happened. One of my uh, colonels from staff from School of Artillery was deputy commander in one of the artillery brigades, and he contacted me in March for a war game, and he said, "Sir, please let us know how we should plan." I said, "Yeah, Pakistan is a no gamer. Nothing is going to happen. We start concentrating on the north." I guess that whole thing has changed on its head in the last 6 months. It's time we start re-looking at Pakistan. And the last thing I would like to say is, like General Shankar said, we have to re-look at the way our armed forces are constituted. We are still following the World War vintage formations and procedures. It's high time we learn from what is happening around the world, especially the way the Russians are facing the brunt in Ukraine, especially the way wars are being fought around the world. If we don't learn it now and reconstitute our armed forces accordingly, we will find it difficult should the time come when they have to be applied. The you know Romanesque advances with armor and blitzkrieg kind of operations are unlikely to happen in the coming years. We have to relook at it, and tomorrow's war will be a war of hitting from distance. So long range vectors, long range engagements, engagements with drones, engagements engagements with or without air force will be what will dominate in the future wars, and we need to reorganize ourselves. And it's a very apt time for us to relook at the theatre command. And I don't agree with that. The air chief, he's a very good friend of mine, that Op Sindoor has actually demonstrated that we don't need theatre commands. I feel it is high time we look at a theatre command which is not just in terms of numbers, it should be in terms of efficacy, it should be in terms of force projection, and it should be in terms of areas that of influence that one is looking at. And Pakistan is something we have to keep watching in the coming year. If I was to put a timeline to it, I see very interesting things happening, especially both in the political and in the military front. Pakistan is going to be pulled, and it is going to possibly, I won't say implode, but it will definitely have huge amount of fissures, and each of these fissures is going to create large number of problems for the neighborhood, and we should be aware and ready for it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think very interesting points have come out. I must highlight them. The first thing is this vacuum which we are facing, the military thinking vacuum beyond in this construct of Pakistan and Afghanistan. You see, at this point of time, since we don't have an embassy in Afghanistan, we don't have a military or any presence in Afghanistan. It's only a technical team out there. Add to that, even in Pakistan, there's a vacuum. And these two geographies from here right into the heart of Central Asia are our two most critical geographies as they've emerged. And we don't have anyone here. And we need to rethink this whole story. And Iran, we've been forced out of Iran because of American influence. And that American influence has not helped us in this. So the three main actors where we have, जहां हमारा दाल गलता है वहां दाल गलने के लिए दाल भी नहीं है. So that's a very important thing which has come out today. It's nice to say Pakistan is cornered, TLP is doing what it wants there, and all. It doesn't take you very far, right? You need to have that. The second thing, which I take it from what both the generals have said, is this, and I like to highlight it. Look at Russia, because Russia also came into mention. Russia is not an economic power. Whatever Russia is doing, it's caught the whole world by its tail, and it's twisting it around. And you see Mr. Putin playing everything by the strength of his military power, his military industrial power, military industrial technological power. It's not economy. But the Russian economy is hardly $2 trillion. It's nothing. It's the 10th or 12th, 11th or 12th economy in the world. And if and when the Ukraine war finishes, its economy will go further down. But its military power remains. Its capacity to think worldwide remains. Even now, China is worried about the equation between itself and Russia. Everyone thought that Russia will be the handmaiden to the Chinese machinations. It's hardly so. It's the other way around all virtually. Right. That's the first way of looking at it. The second way of looking at it is look at China. It is supposed to be the great power which is going to dominate and displace America and all. Where is its presence from Mediterranean to Arabian Sea? Zero. Militarily, it's been pushed out. It doesn't have any capability. People say Karachi is a Chinese base. Nothing operates from there. Gwadar is far from being a base. Then in Djibouti is more of an administrative base than a operational base. And 4 kilometers from Djibouti is the American base there. from the Chinese base. That's the difference. 4 kilometers. So you see an economic superpower and a military non-presence, and you see military superpower and an economically weak, relatively weaker system. There is something for us to learn. What do you want to be? I just thought I'll highlight this because we have to now start thinking beyond. And if the cookie crumbles in Pakistan, we must be ready to step forward with our own plan. Because if the cookie crumbles in Pakistan, there'll be domino effects. And those domino effects are something which we need to foresee and act. And that takes holistic thinking, theater commands, more military capability, more military diplomacy, fusion of the politico-military and the normal diplomacy. Right? Yeah, I think we've had a terrific discussion. 1 or 2 minutes each of you can conclude before I take a few questions. I see a lot of questions. Otherwise, we'll be running short of time. Raj, take your take on this. A sort of a cap.
So two, three quick points, sir.
Yeah.
One is I'd like to underline what you said, the utility of force. So Russia, which is a $2 trillion economy, is getting the better of a $41 trillion West on the strength of better leveraging of the instrument of force, smart leveraging of the instrument of force. That is how important it is. In contrast, you have the other example, where Ukraine, which is a country without a navy and an air force, but smart leveraging of civil military fusion, technological innovation, has kept the world's one of the world's foremost military powers, Russia, at bay for 3.5 years. I mean, I just wonder, sir, World War II, you recall Patton, Montgomery. 65, you recall Harbaksh, 71, Manekshaw. Who are the generals of Ukraine? Elon Musk, Palmer Luckey, Alex Carr. That is how civil military fusion, technological innovation has moved. So, but both are being anchored by the instrument of force. So that's what's happening. The third thing is, what Hari was talking of. I was surprised. There's a very good researcher in VIF who forwarded me one article about the Chinese analysis of what happened in Quantico, Virginia. So first day was signing of or filling up the loyalty questionnaire that Trump is great and all that. The next day, what was unclassified but has got leaked was that they looked at the great pivot to the Indo-Pacific. And there, the two priorities they identified were American weaknesses in long-range precision. And they are scaling up the budgets for long-range precision by 180%. Now, those figures have to be verified, but they at least say that the Americans realize that their long-range precision is weak and they should do something about it. The stuff that Hari was talking about. Maybe we are silent on that. I don't know what our great reluctance is.
Yeah, reluctance है
And the
इसीलिए
second
है कि
point
हम
that happened in the
इसी के ऊपर हम concentrate कर रहे हैं. FRCV.
And the second point was, and second point they listed was 25 areas where the Chinese are ahead of them in weapon systems and associated technologies, and what they should do in a focused manner. Is this not exactly what we should do with the Chinese? Very focused stuff, military to military. And the fourth point that I would like to make is this, that ultimately it is also about building strategic choke points. And this comes from your observation, I think you, sir, or Hari referred to Cold War 2.0. It is all about rare earths, AI, and chips. There is a huge war being waged there in terms of data centers, energy sources, and all that kind of stuff. 2018, when Trump launched his trade war, the Chinese took the punch because they had no responses. 2021, they again took a punch. This time they've got back with a vengeance. We should build these strategic choke points around rare earths or whatever. And the last point I'd like to make is this. in the context of the utility of instrument of force, that the Chinese are having a ball for far too long. This
Yeah, yeah,
business of this business of winning without fighting. The true test of Chinese powerhood will come when they have to commit the utility of force. When they shed blood, तब पता लगेगा कि चाइना में असलियत क्या है और सोशल मीडिया फ्लफ क्या है. So that is, TikTok doesn't win wars. It does a whole lot of other stuff. It
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
win wars.
I
That's what
completely agree with you. Your views, Hari, before we take a few questions.
I just wanted to. Um, I was just looking at what's going to happen to Pakistan. I was just putting a figure of 5 years. Um, I am looking at three possible outcomes. One is, USA, China, IMF, and all, pump in a lot of funds, what I call as managed containment. They'll possibly be able to stay afloat, but with a huge amount of disparity amongst people, discontentment, and large amount of problems all around, district-wise problems. And I put this figure as around 30 to 35% chances that this is what is going to happen. The second one is something which I mentioned earlier, which I call as contained fragmentism, wherein there will be huge number of people who will break away at their own levels, and the centralized control of Pakistan will get broken up. And this is something which I foresee happening in the next 4 to 5 years. It will possibly happen in areas which possibly doesn't affect Americans and Chinese to a large extent. The KPA happens to be one of those flashpoints, which possibly does not bring these two nations into limelight. Possibly the next one could be POJK and northern areas, which again to some extent doesn't bother the Americans. I am looking at Sindh coming back into force, and that is when the whole dynamics will change. And of course, I do foresee an implosion in Pakistan. I think I mentioned every time I speak of Pakistan. And I look at Pakistan to become something like what Iraq has become. It will be a huge fragmented society with warlords managing the areas. There's going to be parallel tax regime. There's going to be local militias, controlling a large amount of swath of territory. And the biggest worry in this kind of a scenario is there's going to be a huge refugee influx, both, and they will flow all over. And we also have to be, upfront about it because it's going to affect us. In this kind of a limelight, the worst worry is what happens to whatever numbers of nuclear warheads and resources that Pakistan owns. Because if they fall into wrong hands, that could be the start of something which the world fears the most. And I find nobody is worried about it. Nobody is talking about it. We are very worried that Iran might make a nuclear bomb and we start bombing their reactors. But we are not worried that here we have a nation which is likely to implode, the nation which is likely to get out of control, which is holding huge amount of nuclear weapons. And if should they go into wrong hands, I see trouble in the world. And I'm surprised that not only the larger countries, I don't see the world order even talking about it. The Americans did show some amount of concern during Op Sindhu, but post that they have again, cast a blind eye to it. So this is something which I would like to. I thought I would put it on since the discussion you were discussed about India, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. So I was pulling out kind of scenarios which I feel is likely to happen, and I am going to be watching them very very closely. And like Gen Raj Shukla says, it's high time that the nation starts, taking the military seriously and starts involving military into decision making and doesn't start giving military a cooked up decision to execute. It is into our own peril if we continue to do the way we have been managing defense related issues till date. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot. A lot of interesting things have come out. We have to now, with what's happening in Pakistan, controlled implosion or auto implosion or auto detonation, whatever you call it, something's going to happen, and things are not going to come back to normal in a hurry. That's one thing we need to realize. Whatever happens or not, It's no more Asim Munir going back to his normal thing, going for a lunch to Trump and all that. Sooner or later, this issue of free floating nukes will come up and things will start happening. It's only a matter of time. We're only second guessing what the world is up to, and we need to rethink our outlook in life. Right. With this, I'll take a few questions. Can we, Sachin? Could you start flashing questions one by one so that we can? Yeah. Bobji Krishnan says, right, generals, Turkey is part of NATO and an ally of US. Israel is a strong ally of America. What happens if Turkey attacks Israel? One option is they may become the menu during the Thanksgiving. I don't think that can happen. I don't think Turkey has the capability of attacking Israel or vice versa. And I don't think USA will allow it. So we'll leave it at that. Let's take the next question. Namaskaram, sir. Israel hostages released, but what about Nepali Hindu Bipin Joshi is not yet released? Your thoughts, Jai Hind? Yeah, Raj, your views.
I can't comment, sir. I have no idea of this. First time I'm
Yeah,
hearing this. So I really
yeah.
won't be able to.
The names have not come out, but I think suppose we will get to it. This we'll have to wait and see because I don't think the full list has come out and all that. It's not got a whole thing. We'll wait for it. I think so. Next question. To all generals, sir, if Pakistan plans another terrorist attack to India to divert attention, what should our ideal response or strategy regarding current Pakistan situation? Hari.
I think we have already spelt it out, sir. And
Yeah.
it is even clear the world should know that should they try or should they even think of a terrorist attack, the response is going to be something which has been already spelled out. Op Sindoor is just paused, and I visualize a bigger Op Sindoor happening should such a situation happens. And I don't think like in this kind of a scenario, with the way Pakistan is today, the world body will allow Pakistan to undertake a terrorist kind of action or adventure in the coming future. I think they're going to be very strict control on how Pakistan goes about doing or dealing with it now. I don't think they can even afford thinking about it.
Yeah, Raj, your views.
So, I'll just, what shall I say? I'll nuance it a little differently. When we spelt out the doctrine, it doesn't mean that we'll fall into some kind of Pakistani trap. Responding is our intention, but it is a sovereign decision. It will depend on a whole lot of factors, depending on whether we want to attack or not. So it's not that you do something and I immediately attack and I fall into some trap of yours. I don't think that is the intent. The second thing is that there are, further complications. Asim Munir and this DG ISPR are going to town about the fact that the next attack on India may come from the east. So all this build up on Pakistan from the Bangladeshi side. So if a gruesome terror attack, say, takes place in northeast, what will we do? We have to think through this. And now it is not only a terror attack. What if there is a cyber attack in accompaniment to the terror attack which is unattributable? Why I'm pointing out these things is not to warmonger, but just to say that these are the deep issues which have to be thought through. There are very deep issues and we have to have a strategy. I'm sure if it's being done in the NSAB and all that. If not, we should look at these things. So the doctrine is there of intent. There is political, shall we say, intent. But it doesn't mean that in our response we don't think through things and we fall into some kind of trap.
Fine. Thanks.
So just wanted to say, I personally felt even Op Sindoor need not have happened at the time when it happened. I feel, and we discussed it also last time.
Yeah, we've discussed it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
also of the opinion.
What is that?
Yeah. Next. Thanks a lot, Magnum Opus, for your contribution. Next. Thanks a lot, Hans, for gifting the Gunnershot membership. Yeah. Yeah, in the midst of all the countries in chaos, Kazakhstan has gained technical advantage with bullet trains and supercars. Your views, sir? Yeah, Raj, I think you should take this on because he's got a point he's making.
This is the second question which I'll draw a blank. Your viewers, sir, are far ahead of me. I really haven't heard this. If it is, I really don't know what to say. Hari?
So I've been to Kazakhstan, and I feel they are actually developing on, or they are going on the right direction as far as development is concerned. And they have most benefit. If I was to look at two countries which benefited the most coming out of the USSR is Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, and to an extent Uzbekistan. These three nations were actually being cowed down by the USSR by being part of the USSR, and they have actually grown because they don't have any other commitments to it, and they are unlike the other nations which are having problems as far as economy is concerned. These nations were possibly having the resources, and they are building the way they have planned for themselves. So I don't see any surprise if Kazakhstan has started becoming a more developed of the Soviet republics, because it was in a better space of things.
Yeah. Next, Afghans would just be opening their business in India without solid political backing. They haven't asked any military support. Are they that strong? Raj?
Now, see, I am of the view that if the Taliban or the if Afghanistan is now opening up to us, we should respond with great warmth. It is entirely in our strategic interest that we have a close partnership with Afghanistan. I mean, what better way to keep Pakistan in check? So I would go on to say that we must increase our diplomatic profile, commerce, business, and even military. That event in VIF, the Afghan foreign minister was rattling out statistics of how it has protected business, commerce coming from India, and he gave a very firm commitment that he would like to, deepen the relationship with us. So I think it's entirely in our interest, and I'm a little perplexed as to why all these years we have not invested far more in Afghanistan. I mean, we shouldn't have allowed Pakistan an inch. We have given them a couple of feet. So this is a good time to invest very heavily in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Next, is the Taliban conducting this outreach with India as a photo op to rein in Pakistan, oblique gain control through people of Pakistan favorable to Talibs? Hurry.
Uh, I would say that to an extent, yes, because they had never had recognition from India. Unfortunately, I would go back to what Gen Raj Shukla was talking about. When the Soviets went to Afghanistan and they propped up the Najibullah government in the 80s, um, while the Pakistanis sided with the Mujahideens, we, because of our Soviet friendship and whatever relations we were with the Najib government at that time, and the Mujahideens overthrew Najib government and came to power. Then we engineered. It took us 10 years to almost, bring back our relationship into some manner. We got hold of our association with the Northern Alliance, which was part of the government, and we started having large amount of interest, and we did all those things like created their parliament and created roads, then air bases, etc. Reconstructed Kabul, and we became again, part of a government in Afghanistan when the Taliban came. And for Pakistan's fortune, whichever agencies they supported, they were able to influence or the operation that has happened in Afghanistan the last 40 years. And they are coming to power. And whichever government India has backed over the years, it has actually lost power in Afghanistan. So to that effect, this is the first time. And the best part here is the Taliban is outreaching to us, possibly or to a government which is not very popular as far as looking at Taliban. So I find this as a very interesting initiative by the Taliban government, and I find that it is an opportunity that we should not let go. It is a time that we hold on to this particular visit and make constructive changes in the way we have looking at Afghanistan and Taliban per se. India has possibly still not formally recognized Taliban government. So these are certain things that we need to look at, possibly draw out equations. I don't see any other power block coming in and changing government in Afghanistan in the coming years. So it is high time get our act together and start using this particular initiative of Afghanistan to our advantage. That's all I can say as far as this particular question is concerned.
Yeah. Can we have the next question, please? Yeah. Next question is from Akash Krishan Tadani. Amir Khan Mutaki, while in Bharat, visited Darul Uloom Deoband and has probably received his matching orders. Uh, Possibility of a common border with Afghanistan. Your views? This is also, I suppose, connected to what External Affairs Minister said, that we have contiguous borders with Afghanistan. He's hinting at that. Raj, your views?
I mean, what the External Affairs Minister was basically saying is to reinvigorate ties with Afghanistan. So there I've already expressed my views that we should do it, and I'm surprised we didn't do it earlier. But I'd like to make one broader point. This thought just crossed my mind. See, the big question is this: are the Americans doing a G2 with the Chinese and pivoting out of Asia, or are they making a stronger pivot into the Indo-Pacific? That directly impacts India. If they are doing a G2 with China, then we work out a modus vivendi with China, which would mean exclusivity of spheres. That there is a South Asian sphere, इसमें आप दाखिल ना हो, हम Pacific में ना आएंगे. But if and that would have a whole range of implications. Uh, and the other is that if the Americans are pivoting into the Indo-Pacific, then we have to see how can we partner with the Americans, not in terms of blood and treasure, but at least technology, so as to balance the Chinese. So the central point is here is how the Sino-Indian playbook is going to play itself out. And that will have an implication on South Asia, our relationships with countries in the periphery. And there we will have to tell China very firmly that stay out. Because you cannot have China in both the Western Pacific and South Asia. That would be detrimental to our interests. So Afghanistan is one part of the bargain, but this wider look at geopolitics around us has to be taken. And there I was also thinking, when Hari was speaking, why are we confined to the Western and Eastern horizons? How about to connect into Central Asia? I mean, Kazakhstan and all, in the long term, these are valuable partners. At one time, I don't know which country it was, I think it was Tajikistan, where we were thinking of building an airbase. I don't know what happened to that. So we, as General Shankar said, now we are third largest economy. First and foremost, we have to abandon our defensive crouch and start, I'm not saying jackboot around the world, but start calibrating our strategic stride with our economic flight. वो अब शुरू आज हम करेंगे तो 20 साल में हकीकत बनेगी, but at least we should start the thinking now.
Yeah, I think so. Next. Thanks a lot for joining in as a member. Goin Sarup also thanks a lot. Next question, Sajid. Surely Trump can't be cheated with a shipload of dung. So what stops Munir from sending 1,000 shiploads of minerals and earn billions if they put energy into it? Hurry.
Firstly, he has to find 1,000 shiploads of minerals. That is a good question. And with PLA being active in Balochistan, and like the General Shankar says, he's hardly got any influence in other than 3 or 4 areas of Balochistan. To be able to first find the minerals and be able to take it safely to whichever port he thinks he can put it on a ship and ship it out to Trump. These are challenges. I don't know whether Trump has analyzed it before shaking hands with Munir, what he was selling him. Like General Shukla says, I'm sure over a period of time he'll understand that he's not made a great bargain by shaking hands and having lunch with the General Saab. I don't call him Marshal at all.
See, even if you get 1,000 shiploads, where do you ship it from? Pasni. Pasni, for those of you who don't know, Pasni is silted. Ships can't operate there. You have to first desilt, Pasni, make an entrance. If you go into a Google map and see Pasni port, Only small ships go in, not big ships. So that's how it is. Yeah. Next. Yeah. Good evening, General Shukla. Do you think Afghanistan too can become a headache to Bharat the way Pakistan became one? What is US going to do seeing the disintegration of Pakistan? Well, will the US go on to help Pakistan in this TTP Taliban fight with Pakis?
See, at the moment, things seem to be going our way. If, as I said, whenever Pakistan gets into a close embrace with the United States, there is a blowback in Pakistani politics. And Pakistani politicians suffer, and even generals have to bite the dust. So this embrace with the United States just doesn't work. With the larger trends of domestic politics, the whole business of Islamism and so on. So if they are getting closer to the United States, good news for us. They have really done us a favor by turning Afghanistan over to us. That takes some brilliance in statecraft. पाकिस्तान की जो फॉरेन पॉलिसी एस्टेब्लिशमेंट है उसको दिल से मुबारकबाद देता हूं मैं कि आपने अफगानिस्तान को हमारे हवाले कर दिया. As far as, but the larger, more serious point is this, that I'm sure even Trump realizes now that India is a country with a unique salience. It's got a weight and influence of its own. We will never do this flat tree tax business. आपको डिब्बे में हम rare earths नहीं दिखाएंगे. But if you actually value us in the long term, there couldn't be a better bet than India. But we will not do this flat tree stuff and recommend you for the Nobel Prize, though we still wish you good luck for 2025. So you have to realize. And the last point is this, just to my Indian friends, that where we should not make a mistake is this, that we have a lot of weight, we have considerable influence, but we have yet to convert that weight and influence into power. And that takes a long time. We should not prematurely mistake our weight and influence for power. So there are lessons for everybody here, including India, and we shall see who's the wisest of them all.
Yeah, who's the wisest? The last question, yeah. Hari, all yours, sir. You're saying possibility of implosion, but why would the people there want this to happen? I mean, why would they let it happen? I don't think they have control over it. That's the first thing. Yeah, please.
So, so there are 5 provinces. If I look at Pakistan, and you take out Punjab, Sindh has always been in discontentment with Pakistan. They don't have any control of Balochistan. KPK is burning. POJK, if they consider it as part of Pakistan, is discontent. And the northern regions are just waiting to find an excuse to get out of Pakistan. So which are the people who will want the implosion not to happen? It's only the Punjabis who are sitting inside, wealth in Pakistan. If within the Punjabis also, I find there is a fraction, north of Satluj and south of Satluj. Now, once Indus Water Treaty starts showing its colors in the couple of years, people south of Satluj are going to get totally strained with no water. So there is going to be implosion within Punjab also. So what is Pakistan today? Pakistan today is just a set of families in Punjab which is controlling the whole nation together, and possibly one family from Sindh. And that once this thing breaks, implosion is the only answer which will happen. Like I said, it may not happen as a nation, but there will be fragmentation, which I am calling contained fragmentation. So there will be huge amount of small fragments which will happen inside Pakistan, which is going to create huge amount of nuisance. And that is what I look at Pakistan in the next 5 years.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I thought we had a terrific discussion today. A lot of important things. We looked at Pakistan, the way it's going. Pakistan is still an act in motion, right? It's a 3-act play. It's only we've seen probably the first act of the play which is happening. There's more to come, right? And we look beyond Pakistan. And I think India has to start looking beyond Pakistan, and that's the loud message which comes both from General Raj Shukla and General Harimohan, and I completely second them. If we set our sights only on what's happening in Pakistan, we've missed the bus. Because, like I started, there's a lot of things happening beyond Pakistan. There's a West Asia peace thing going on, Gaza going on, Ukraine still happening, South China Sea is still in a muddle. There's a rare earth war going on. There's a technology tussle going on, and we have to start looking at the larger game, right? With this, I'd like to thank General Harimohan and General Raj Shukla, and I'd also like to thank Sachin, who's been helping me remotely from Bombay. Thanks a lot for everything, and have a great day. And Jai Hind to all those of you who took the time out to listen to the three of us. Thank you from the gunner side. Jai Hind, and have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Good night.